Hi, so this is just a quick overview of what I'm trying to do here. So if we have a positive material, positive protons, they produce a lot of electric fields. Now, as it's more positive, we can see there are more electric fields here than on this side, for example. So when a light wave is at 90 degrees to this E field here may have little interaction. And as we see here, it's at 90 degrees to this one here. However, these other positive electric fields coming out in something that's more positive are coming out at different angles, which can then have an angle of interaction with the E field. And this is the E field of an alternating magnetic wave. So think of it as just being a light wave. So in theory, what should happen is this light wave, as it alternates, and I say when the light wave alternates that there's no such thing as a positive and negative side, just that we have a E field being created in this direction, and then at another time, as it alternates, an E field being created in the opposite direction. So when this E field comes in here, it will try to rotate because of these other E fields, or let's say here, it's coming in this way. So these ones here try to make it rotate. This, being an electric field which has a force, will be rotated to be in sync with the positive electric field. What this means is this light wave will be made to spin, but also possibly move in an arc around the positive E field of the positive material. What this means is there's an attraction due to force, but there's also the possibility for repulsion. Now, what may happen is, should I go to my next slide? So, here we have the positive material, let's say lots of protons. Here we have a light wave with its E, H and F vector, and we can see that this material here is being rotated due to the interaction of the positive electric field's vector with the E field of the actual electromagnetic wave. So it'll be rotated. This rotation may even boost the force vector, as the E boosts the H, which causes a greater force. So as this light wave moves around or tries to reorientate itself, we may have what can seem like a constant force arcing around the positive material, or positive protons. So we may have a rotation and slight movement around this, but what should happen is there should be an arc of force overall in one direction. Or we may have an electromagnetic wave spin if the actual positive material is more positive. So it may just seem to spin in place. But what will happen is if we're using antennas to push in electromagnetic waves, something which is typical to telecommunication technology, or sending waves around, you can think of it as being like a water fountain that will begin to saturate the surrounding area of this positive material, meaning that there will be a force vector which will almost be like an arc wave. But because of how light operates when it's alternating, we will have some kind of light wave or lattice. But what we also may have is three kind of predictions. One, that the light wave will move up and down as it's being attracted and repelled. In another configuration, the light wave may move upwards, and in another one, it may move downwards. I overall think it will move upwards and downwards alongside moving around the actual core of the positive material. So we have upwards and downwards movement, but we'll also have the wave arc around the actual material. So we have an angle of interaction in which it's moving. So this actual light wave will move around in 3 dimensions. It will move upwards and downwards, and not just from left and right, but around the object. So it will be rotated by this axis here. Now what this can mean is that there'll be a saturation of light waves, like chunks of solid light, where no more light wave can push into that. That can be pushed against. However, what's going to happen is that this will produce a huge force. Now this force is based on the force created from an electromagnetic wave when it's alternating. So this wave, as it's alternating, is being rotated to keep the force vector in one direction, rotating around an object, or possibly upwards, or possibly inwards. So it's all based around the angle of interaction with the positive material, but here we're looking at it in 2 dimensions, and I predict we'll have a force moving around the material. This force will be boosted as the E field of the electromagnetic wave gets boosted by the positive field of the positive material. But because we're talking about electromagnetic waves, alternating ones, when a wave alternates, you won't just have one wave, it will create a lattice of electromagnetic waves. Now this lattice will saturate an area of space-time in which it is not being decreased or mitigated in some way. But this force vector will move electromagnetic space-time in a direction. That may mean a small pad on the back of an object can push space in a direction around that object, meaning the object isn't actually moving. And I've spoken about positive electric field entrapment, which is the idea of what I'm talking about here, which I've mentioned in other videos. So essentially, that's the idea, that we can use positive electric fields almost like guitar strings, and we can think of the electromagnetic light interacting with the guitar strings as almost like a song being played. And these EMWs, electromagnetic waves, will move on these guitar strings in certain ways, but can also be pushed closely together. In this regard, we don't need any exotic materials to make a warp drive. In this regard, we don't need to have, say, a ship with 2 rings around it. All we need is a small pad on the back. These force vectors are all being scaled up by the actual E field interacting with the E field of the positive material, but also because more and more light waves are being pushed closely together and rotating and spinning. And again, this is an alternating light wave, but because they're being rotated by the positive electric field of the material here, the force vectors will stereotypically be going around in one direction. So thank you for your time, and bye.